Good day then. Oh, might have peaked a little bit too soon with switching over there. And as you can see, we do have a Sprog with us today. Not a very animated Sprog. And you should... Oh, come on, camera, for fuck's sake. Honestly, absolute horseshit. When I hit record on OBS, the camera just disconnects, so I have to keep on disconnecting it and reconnecting it to get it to go again. Anyway... Welcome to Evolution Sim Racing. 'Tis I, Lord Pendlebury, and here is 'tis Sprog Pendlebury. He is here to be entertaining, so I don't have to be. He's done a good job of taking some time out of his busy schedule of making mine and Jen's life an absolute misery. You've got so much dribble over the harmonica there. That is disgusting. Fortunately, it's in a case. Anyway, we are at Algarve or Portimão this week. We are in the GT4s, and rumour has it, I'm recording this ahead of time, rumour has it it's going to be wet, which is bad news, I think, for pretty much everybody. I'm not sure if you've watched many of these highlights videos, but we're not really a talented bunch. Anyway, if you would like to come and get involved with this not-so-talented bunch, then there's some reasons over there. Under the Why Join Us, if you are capable of reading, that is. EvolutionSimRacing.com is the website just below. Come and visit us, and we're also on TikTok and Instagram if you want to go and follow us there. And at some point, I know I keep on promising it, at some point I will add those links onto this homepage, but it's not happened yet, so don't hold your breath. Let's crack on with this week's highlights. Hello then, and welcome to a wet and soggy Portimão circuit. We are, of course, in Portugal, a fantastic undulating track here. Let's bring up some race information, and I've realised whilst putting together this race information that I'd accidentally put in the highlights for last week that it was GT4s. It wasn't, as you probably guessed, but this week it is GT4s. And it is a very soggy track. Doesn't look like it's going to dry out during the course of this one. Maybe it will do for the feature race. That remains to be seen. Anyway, let's take a look at the grid for this one then. And Dan Slattery, for Fuck This Racing, he's been a flaky competitor this season, but he's stuck it on pole, a full 6/10 and a bit ahead of Jeff Sharp in second place. Jamie Nicholson, he's in third, Pendlebury in fourth, 1.8 seconds off the pace there for him. It was then Steve Everson, he put it in fifth place, barely a shade behind Pendlebury there. He, of course, was pole position in the AM category. Chris Hulst is then fifth for Pro, with Will Thomas in sixth and Steve Moore in seventh. Chris Palmer was then second in class, with Axel Edwards alongside him. And then the sixth row and final row was Brian Dodd with Mickey Dolan alongside. Big news in that category battle. Steve Everson, of course, leading the championship after the last race by 46 points, I think it was. And Chris Palmer second in the championship, but importantly, 3 pro cars between them. So let's see how they get on. Well, now we are just waiting on whoever the hell that is, Dan Slattery, to drop the hammer, and he has done. Heading down the main straight here at Portimão. Oh, blimey, the helicopter is running some particularly intriguing lines. Cuts through the trees beautifully, though, and everyone seems to be cutting around the first turn pretty beautifully. Oh, that's Pendlebury almost into the back of... who is that? Will Thomas, I assume. No, Jamie Nicholson, I think. If it wasn't obvious... I am recording these highlights a chunk of time after racing them, I suppose. No, actually, Will Thomas is the person behind Pendlebury, because Will Thomas is looking up the inside as they head down towards the hairpin at 5. Looks like he's got through there all okay. Now that drops Pendlebury down to 5th, and Will Thomas up into 4th. How are things going at the front of the AM category, I should say, and... Chris Palmer is leading the way. I'm going to bring up the race information straight off the bat, because there's no point in me trying to fly blind if I don't need to. Oh, and look at that. I'm very wrong, because Steve Everson is in second overall. Well, that's a lie. According to my overlay software, he's second overall. I don't know what's gone on here. And that is Pendlebury now up the inside of Jamie Nicholson. In terms of the championship in the Pro category, well, he's not up the inside of Jamie Nicholson because he gets it all wrong at the hairpin at 5. And that means Jamie Nicholson continues on his way in 4th place. Jeff Sharp currently is 2nd. As I was saying, in terms of the championship, we're only down to the last 6 races. Pendlebury needs to be outscoring Sharp in every single race if he's going to have a chance. Here we go then. I've got the overlay software working, and looks like Axel Edwards is very close behind Chris Palmer. That is also a pretty big battle in terms of the AM Championship. Axel Edwards not too far off the back of Chris Palmer. And that is for 2nd in the AM standing. Steve Everson looking to increase his lead in the championship. Axel Edwards up the inside of Palmer, and he nudges him around. Palmer goes. That elevates Brian Dodd into 3rd place. Axel Edwards up into 2nd. But Chris Palmer will surely be having words with the stewards after that. Oh, as we cut through a building. I apparently need to stop using that camera angle just there. They were battling close and hard, but unfortunately, well, at least unfortunately for Chris Palmer, he is... Oh, hello, and Brian Dodd, I think, may well have had an incident, because he has just been passed by Chris Palmer, and the last time these two were side by side, Chris Palmer was facing in a less than optimal direction. Oh, he's out wide there onto the... Oh, onto the slippy curbs. Manages to hold it together, but loses some time to Chris Palmer there. Mickey Dolan, I'm not sure what has happened to him. He is not circulating, and actually, word in my ear, Mickey Dolan did not take the start of this race. So unlikely that he's going to be gaining any positions throughout the course of this one. Pendlebury, meanwhile, is... Oh, ahead of Jamie Nicholson. Jamie Nicholson spins to the inside. Didn't see any contact there, but we will have to go back and verify whether that took place or not. Well then, let's take a look and see what happened to Chris Palmer and that contact with Axel Edwards. He's on the outside, and it's hard to tell from that angle. We'll see if we can see it from a different angle and apportion some blame, because God loves we know doing that. What? Yeah, Axel Edwards to the inside. Looking at that line that Palmer's taking, I mean, the line that Palmer's taking doesn't really change. I fear that Axel Edwards may just have got some understeer through that slippy inside line, and then that just took him into the left rear quarter of Chris Palmer, sent Chris Palmer round. Well then, this is what happened between Pendlebury and Nicholson, and I mean, hard again to see from that angle. Let's jump on board with Pendlebury and the nose of Pendlebury. Let's see what happens here. And, well, yes, Lord Pendlebury has gone into the back of him and unceremoniously dumped him to the inside of the final turn. However, you can see that Jamie Nicholson does get a bit loose on the way through. That kills his momentum, and yeah, Pendlebury just doesn't get out of the throttle quickly enough to stop it taking him into his rear end. So, yeah, that seems like a fair analysis. Well, I'm not sure when or how this has happened, but Chris Palmer is now somehow ahead of Axel Edwards. What happened? There's Axel Edwards. I can only assume Edwards has had a moment. Oh, and Jeff Sharp is ahead of Dan Slattery. Because Dan Slattery has had a moment. Yet again, I am doing an absolutely fantastic job of missing every single incident that has occurred in this race so far. This is what happened to Dan Slattery then. He was just happily leading the race and then just spun to the inside and onto the grass. And that going uphill on the grass in the wet is not going to go well. I'm intrigued by the tyre tracks that he's left there. They didn't seem to really correspond with what was going on. But there is our new race leader. That is Jeff Sharp. He's now got Will Thomas behind him. Dan Slattery is in third. And then Lord Pendlebury 3.4 seconds further behind Slattery. I'm slightly distrusting of that, where I've had to reopen the overlays, that the race timer is accurate, because I could have sworn a lot of the things that have happened so far happened far later into the race. But who knows, we will see. Oh, and Steve Moore has just got past Jamie Nicholson. I have missed yet again something else, and I don't know, maybe Jamie Nicholson has had a moment. Yes, Jamie Nicholson has crashed according to the timing tower. Well, Nicholson and Moore are side by side as they head towards somewhere. Dare I check the blimp? No, I don't check the fucking blimp. And Jamie Nicholson elevates himself back up into 6th position, robbed of the 3rd place battle that he was having with Pendlebury, allegedly by the front bumper of Pendlebury. We will, of course, go back and have a look. And to tell you what, Will Thomas has been absolutely closing the gap to Jeff Sharp. You can see here they are very much running close together. That was a decent gap, but rumour has it, as this race has worn on, the grip for Sharp just has not been there. So he is going to have to be putting on a rear guard action. I think as things stand in the championship, he is going to be not home and dry by any stretch of the imagination, but he is going to be pretty close to Pendlebury, well, making it impossible for Pendlebury to win the championship. Will Thomas pulls to the inside. I'll stop whittering on about inane championship bullshit. I tell you what, Brian Dodd, he is up into 3rd place, I've just seen, and going off the way the time is increasing. Axel Edwards has had a moment, and I can see on the timing tower he has had an accident. We may or may not go back and have a look at that, depending on how exciting it was. Will Thomas taking a much tighter line there than Jeff Sharp. He pulls to the inside as they head down towards the turn 5 hairpin, and this will surely be a formality at this point unless Sharp can hang it all the way around the outside. Dan Slattery looking to get involved as well. Sharp does well, though. I tell you what, he has got some good drive on that outside line, so he will have the outside line for the next little kink, but then he'll have the inside. Fuck me, we need to stop getting inside this building. And he holds on to that 1st place. Will Thomas now cuts to the inside. Excellent racing from these two. Up and over the hill. Let's go and jump on board with Dan Slattery. Sharp squirming about on the wet weather. Will Thomas now looking to the outside. But Sharp continues to hold him off, despite what I would say is a clear pace advantage for Will Thomas in that Porsche Cayman. Sharp is putting up an absolutely excellent defence, and you can see there from the timing tower, Dan Edwards, somebody I went to school with and haven't spoken to since school, is apparently the name that's cropped up to my mind there. Dan Slattery has closed this gap, and consequently we now have a 3-way battle for the lead. I'll tell you what, you can't see any of them with all the spray, can you? It is a very, very wet day here at Portimão. Rumour has it, though, that the weather's going to clear up before race 2. And, Will Thomas absolutely clobbers the curbs. That's going to give Dan Slattery the opportunity. Unfortunately, nowhere ready for him to go there. There's only really one line through there. Thomas sends it up the inside. Sharp holds his ground, though. Absolutely cracking racing. This is good news for Pendlebury as well. He's only 1.4 seconds off of it, making this a 4-way battle for the lead. Once again, Will Thomas is on the inside as they head down towards the hairpin at turn 5. And it looks like he's a full car width ahead. So this could be game over for Jeff Sharp. Indeed it is. He has to slot in. And, that's Dan Slattery practically shuffling him around that turn. So Will Thomas, you would expect, is going to start driving away from Jeff Sharp, and you'd expect Dan Slattery to be very keen to get past Jeff Sharp to try and keep up the pressure on Will Thomas. Slattery runs well out wide there, and that gives Pendlebury 3rd place. He was just looking to apply the pressure to Jeff Sharp, and unfortunately got it all wrong as they headed up into turn 11. Here is Jamie Nicholson. He has been... Jamie Nicholson... apparently he had another crash, Jamie Nicholson. Axel Edwards has just got past Brian Dodd. Let's go and quickly have a look. Where are they? There they are. So, they are still running together, so I assume that was a legitimate move rather than an accident for Brian Dodd. But Axel Edwards has run out wide. Brian Dodd looking up the inside. Axel Edwards should get better drive on that line, though. They are very close. Brian Dodd looking to swing around the round. It's going to be horrible for Edwards going across that near side. There's very little grip in the wet there, but he makes it work. Holds on to 3rd place. For the moment, at least, Brian Dodd will see what he can do about coming back at him. Oh, that's Sharp looking like he's gone well out wide. Indeed, he has. And Pendlebury now has the opportunity. Switches back underneath him. They're onto the brakes. Pendlebury's on the slippier inside line. They leave each other room. These two, of course, have had history on this corner. Back in Formula 4s or Formula 3s or something. Either way, they managed to get through it this time unscathed in the wet. Oh, Pendlebury, he's squirming about. Oh, it's very close with Dan Slattery. He got on the curbs there and just proving how treacherous those curbs can be. That gives Jeff Sharp some breathing room to the tune of 1 second. Oh no, in the battle for third place in the AM category, Brian Dodd had got past Axel Edwards. In fact, well, he is still ahead of Axel Edwards. I'm not sure where's Axel Edwards? There's Axel Edwards. So somehow Brian Dodd's managed to keep hold of third place there, despite finding himself in the kitty litter. Oh, that's Brian Dodd running out wide. Oh, he's going to go round. And Axel Edwards now up into third place. Not a guaranteed third place, though. These two have traded positions backwards and forwards. Mainly from spinning, but for the moment then at least, Axel Edwards is in third place. He's 50 seconds behind Chris Palmer in second, who in turn is 35 seconds behind Steve Everson in first. Steve Everson, you know what, let's quickly feature him. There he is, because we've barely seen him all race, having a battle with Chris Hulse in the pro category. And there's Pendlebury looking up the inside of Jeff Sharp. Jeff Sharp struggling for traction, has been all throughout the second half of this race. We are getting towards the closing stages now, but you can see the superior grip that Pendlebury has. Through the trees we go, and up the hill we go to turn 13. Tell you what, Pendlebury's looking very close this time round as they head down the main straight. Jeff Sharp already opts to go defensive. Oh, and it's white flag as well, so that timer is very much incorrect. In the top left-hand corner, I suspected as much earlier. I may have cut it out, though, where I've said that. Either way, let's see how they go. This is the final position, really, to be resolved. And it is the big one in the pro category. First and second in the championship. And Pendlebury's got good drive, as Will Thomas had against Jeff Sharp, out of that turn, whatever it is, turn 4. Pendlebury looks to the inside. And, oh, he slithers out wide, can't get the traction. Oh, there's a little bit of bumping on the straight there. Jeff Sharp perhaps looking for a bit of retribution for what could be classed as a dodgy move for Pendlebury. Sharp hangs it out on the inside, though, finds traction where others have not, and through he goes, maintaining second place as it stands. They head down the hill before they get to the left-hander. Pendlebury going for the wetter line across the curbs, and it pays dividends for him. He has gained time on Sharp there. Looks to the outside as they head round 11. Not really much he can do at this stage, though. Is he going to look to the inside here? Opts against it. And as long as Sharp gets the next couple of corners nice and neat, he should be all okay to hold on to that second place. If he does so, he'll claim 3 extra points over Pendlebury. Meanwhile, Will Thomas heads across the line, claiming yet another victory. He's got Chris Palmer, who will confirm his second place in the AM category. But how's it going with Pendlebury and Sharp? Well, there it is, and Sharp crosses the line ahead of Pendlebury. I tell you what, if you totaled the amount of time that has been between these two across the course of this season when it gets to the finishing line, it would be surprisingly small. Oh, that's Dan Slattery exploring the inner depths of the pit exit. And we didn't see him cross the line, but there is Steve Everson, victor in the AM category. I tell you what, there are no easy races in the rain. but I think that's about as easy as it comes for Steve Everson there. Just drove away from the field behind him. Chris Palmer well over 40 seconds behind him. Anyway, let's go and take a look at those results then. Starting off this time with the pro category. So Will Thomas ended up getting past Jeff Sharp, and as predicted, he I haven't changed to a scenic camera. There we go. And what a scene it is. So yes, Will Thomas, he took the victory by 7.5 seconds. Jeff Sharp was then in second place, just 0.3 of a second ahead of Lord Pendlebury in third. Dan Slattery, despite a good qualifying, he unfortunately dropped down to fourth place, made one mistake, and that unfortunately was critical. Chris Hulse, he was then in fifth place, 20 seconds off the lead, with Jamie Nicholson in sixth after that controversial contact with Lord Pendlebury. Then Steve Moore, he rounded out the pro standings. Taking a look at the AM category then. Steve Everson, as we've said, winner by over 40 seconds to Chris Palmer, who is his nearest title rival. Axel Edwards ended up finishing in third. They are first, second and third in the championship. So, yeah, it's pretty much status quo in terms of that. Brian Dodd, he was then in fourth place. He ended up being a lap down and 12 points further into his pocket. That's not what I meant to say, but who cares? And Mickey Dolan, he manages to haul 10 points just for simply joining the session. But yes, anyway, that is that for the sprint race. Looks like things are brightening up for the feature race, but yeah, we will take a very short break and see you for that very shortly. Well, hello then, and welcome back to Evolution Sim Racing. We are back at Portimão, and this time it is for round 17 of the Evolution Sim Racing Season 4 2024 Championship. It is, of course, the 45-minute feature race. That does feature a mandatory pit stop. Now, weather conditions. Well, it is not raining. It was raining earlier in the day. Only one car has been out there, or is currently out there, on wet tyres. That would be Jamie Nicholson. The rest of them have opted for dries, and well, let's go and play everybody's favourite game. Guess that livery. Well then, on pole position for the pro category, that is Dan Slattery. He's got Chris Hulse alongside him. We then have someone. Oh, that's Simon Moo, Steve Moore, Simon Moo. No, I don't know, one of his names. He's got Jamie Nicholson alongside him on the second row. We then have Will Thomas with Lord Pendlebury for company. And then Jeff Sharp, leader of the championship. He is starting off in 7th place in the pro category. In the AM category then, we have leading the way Brian Dodd. It's then Axel Edwards with Chris Palmer alongside. And then at the back of the grid, championship leader Steve Everson. Well, once again then, we are at the start of a race, and this time it's Dan Slattery. Well, it's not this time. Dan Slattery was the one who decided to go last time, and it looks like Chris Palmer. Oh, fuck me, that's not good. Oh, my goodness. Well, they are 4 wide as they head down towards turn 1, and we emerge from the bar within the stands. Are they going to make it around turn 1? All okay. Oh, they just about are. Maybe a little bit of contact there between Pendlebury and Hulse. Then there's a little bit of contact between Pendlebury and Jamie Nicholson. And Will Thomas, the big winner there, he slid up the inside of both of them. He is straight up into 4th position. Side by side, looks like we've also got a little bit of side-by-side action behind between Brian Dodd and Chris Palmer, the Aston Martin teammates. Get around there, all okay. Now Axel Edwards on the inside of Brian Dodd, is he? No, not quite. And you can see still a lot of spray being kicked up, but it is absolutely dry weather tyre running, and you can see the proof there. Jamie Nicholson, he is starting to fall into the clutches of the AM category. He's just been passed by Jeff Sharp. Still side by side, Brian Dodd on this first lap, this time with Axel Edwards. Axel Edwards looking to sweep all the way around the outside, and he has done so very nicely. You can see, oh hello, is that, I think that's Jamie Nicholson running out wide. Indeed he has. He's now got Steve Everson for company. Oh, there's a bit of contact there, and Jamie Nicholson fires into the barriers. What was a pretty dire first lap for him has got even worse. Well, Dan Slattery is leading the way in the pro category. There he is. He has got Lord Pendlebury hot on his heels, with Will Thomas equally hot on Pendlebury's heels. Steve Moore then in 4th place with Chris Hulse in 5th. Jeff Sharp very close behind Chris Hulse there. These two have been pretty inseparable all season long. Jeff Sharp has barely gone a race without ramming Chris Hulse in the rear. Let's see if he can make it through this one without doing that. And that's Steve Everson. He's made a move on Brian Dodd up the inside into turn 3 and gets it completed through turn 4. And Jeff Sharp, is he up the inside this time? He is up the inside, but is he going to be able to hold on to it? Chris Hulse making a battle of it. Oh, now Steve Moore running a little bit wide there. Manages to get away with it all okay. But for the moment then, Chris Hulse holding on to that 5th position. And Will Thomas, he has just got past Lord Pendlebury. That is up into turn 11. They now head down the hill. The only two drivers in the McLarens, these two, proving that they were perhaps a decent choice as they're running 2nd and 3rd at the moment and are closing in on Dan Slattery. And this time it looks like Jeff Sharp has finally got that move done on Chris Hulse. Oh, and I tell you what, we've got battles all over the place. Axel Edwards, let's jump on board with him. He is looking up the inside of Brian Dodd. Only really one line through here in the dry at least. Taking a wider line in, and that'll give him better. Oh, is he into the back of Brian Dodd? Has Brian Dodd survived that? Where is Brian Dodd? He is there. He's on the outside. Let's go to an off-board camera. That might help us out. And there is Axel Edwards getting past Brian Dodd. Well, Thomas there looking like he was potentially going to make a move on Dan Slattery. Not quite yet, but you feel like it's only a matter of time. The McLarens have the pace on Slattery. Can Slattery hold them up? And for how long is the question. Bloody hell, everything is going on everywhere. We now have Jeff Sharp. He is closing the gap on Steve Moore. That has been slowly coming down over the last couple of laps after he got past Chris Hulse. It really is go all over the place at the moment. Apologies if I miss anything. I surely will, because let's face it, I miss things even when nothing's happening. Also, I was looking up the inside of Slattery. Slattery cuts his nose off. And that enables Pendlebury up the inside of Will Thomas. Will Thomas, can he get back at him? He'll have the inside line here. Indeed he does. Holds on to 2nd place. And that's what Slattery would be hoping for. Defend against 2nd place hard and then cause a battle between 2nd and 3rd place. That will maybe give him some breathing room. I'll tell you what, it's going to be close by the time they get down towards the first turn here. Slattery tries to push all the way around the outside. Oh, they're bumping door to door. Slattery, is he going to have to concede? He's desperately holding on to that outside line. Still, he remains. Just sort of bumping again as they go through turn 3. Pendlebury's just spectating, hoping that they're going to wipe each other out, and they're up against each other again. This time Will Thomas, has Will Thomas got the move? Surely he has done. Oh, Slattery dives to the inside, somehow misses the rear end of Will Thomas there, and he claims 1st place yet again. Absolutely titanic battling from these two. Just about on the limits of fair racing there, but it has maintained, or it's been clean despite some of those dives. Oh, that's Will Thomas going slightly wide, and now Pendlebury looking up the inside as they head up and over the hill, but Pendlebury tucks back in, perhaps realising that he didn't have enough of an overlap there. Jeff Sharp then What's going on there? He's up the inside of Steve Moore. And that promotes him up into 4th place. And let's go and take a quick look and see what's going on at the front of the AM category. Chris Palmer still leads the way to the tune of half a second. Oh, and Pendlebury in the... oh, that's Dan Slattery. Pendlebury looking all the way around the outside of Will Thomas here. Can't quite get it done. And, wow, what Dan Slattery was surely hoping for has come to pass, because Pendlebury and Will Thomas now battling amongst each other has meant that he's now got a 1.3 second lead. Yes, as I was saying, Chris Palmer and Steve Everson still battling away at the front of the AM category. They have got honorary AM member Chris Hulse just a few tenths up the road as well. And then this is what happened between Everson and Jamie Nicholson, and it looked like Steve Everson turned in on him. Rumour has it crew chief did not warn him that Jamie Nicholson was on his left. But that, unfortunately, started a downward spiral. Oh, Will Thomas runs out wide. And will Pendlebury get the move done this time? He does. Sweeps around the outside as they head through turn 9 up to turn 11. Will Thomas looking back up the inside of Pendlebury. They take different lines through there, not for the first time this season. Pendlebury and Will Thomas taking very different lines. Pendlebury should perhaps pay attention to Will Thomas's lines, because Will Thomas tends to be faster than Pendlebury. They are making this a good old battle, and Dan Slattery now 1.7 seconds, nearly 1.8 seconds ahead of them now, so he will be hoping that this battle continues on. They've got themselves tucked in line now, though. So will they now formation fly and try and drag themselves back up to Slattery? And as we can see here, Pendlebury has dragged himself onto the back of Dan Slattery. He's brought Will Thomas for company, so it's going to be round 2 here. It's just this time Pendlebury is the lead McLaren. And he is all over the back of Slattery. Looks to the inside. Takes that wider line as they head into turn 11. Tries to get some momentum as they head down the hill, but nothing really doing. Only 0.4 of a second covering these guys. Oh, Pendlebury really close to the back of Slattery there. Oh, there might have been a bit of contact there. Mid-corner. Either way, they've all got away with it. Now the question is what can Pendlebury do down the main straight? Can he be close enough to get the drive? Potentially not. The drive, the slipstream. He's 0.3 of a second at the moment, and that's probably not going to be enough to pull him onto the rear end of Slattery by the time they get to turn 1. That is Jamie Nicholson in the background. He is a lap down. Pendlebury flashing the lights there at Slattery. Oh, and it appears to have worked. All 3 of them go out wide. Pendlebury, oh, Slattery comes back on track. Pendlebury couldn't quite get up the inside there. I have to say, this has been fantastic racing from these 3 in this race. They all run out wide again there. Some more vegetation in the foreground, making things looking attractive. Pendlebury takes a look to the inside at the hairpin at 5. Nothing doing, though. We will be heading towards the pit stop window imminently, so you do wonder whether there's going to be any boxing to overtake for us to try and keep track of here. It's still got the rear end of Chris. Oh, bloody hell, there's a great gaggle of cars here. 2 pros and 2 AMs. Jamie Nicholson in a AM sandwich and Chris Palmer in a pro sandwich, albeit Jamie Nicholson is a lap down on Chris Hulse just ahead of him. As I was saying, Steve Everson yet to be able to find a way past Chris Palmer as it stands, and first of all he's going to have to try and find a way past Jamie Nicholson. It's all looking very close as they head around one of the few hairpins we've got at this circuit. Dan Slattery has just set the fastest lap of the race in the Pro category. That is good timing for him in his pursuit of staying out ahead of Will Thomas. Pendlebury has now boxed, so we will see where he comes out. And that is Steve Everson. He is boxing to overtake as well in the AM category. Well, we've got a lot to keep on top of here. Where's Will Thomas? That is Will Thomas. He's got Brian Dodd just ahead of him as they come through the final turn. And the question is, where is he going to come out in relation to Pendlebury? I never thought to use the chopper when we've got a pit stop race, and well, why haven't I? Because you can see the pit lane and the track, and there is Pendlebury slow on the right hand side. The question is, where are they going to end up? It's going to be close. Pendlebury on the inside. Oh, Will Thomas on the outside, sweeps round, just about gets the move done. So it's worked out well for Will Thomas there. And if he's come out like that, it means he would have come out just behind Dan Slattery. So the battle really now is between Slattery and Will Thomas for first place. Who is going to be able to pump in the lap times? You'd suspect it would be Will Thomas based on his early race pace, but we will see. Well then, Chris Palmer has boxed, and he is now on the pit exit already. This is Steve Everson. Obviously, the main battle in the AM category was between these two before the pit stops. We can see Chris Palmer slow on the right hand side, and I think Steve Everson's got this. Indeed he has. He's been pumping in the times very nicely, and ahead of Chris Palmer he goes. He takes the lead in the AM category by just over a second. Well, there's Dan Slattery on the pit exit, and Will Thomas has shot through. There's Pendlebury through as well, so Slattery goes from leading this one down into third place. Pendlebury going well out wide there. Also got Chris Hulse leaving or in the pits at the moment, but that has not gone the way Dan Slattery would have been hoping for, and Will Thomas looking to cruise home to yet another double victory on an evening. He continues to drag himself into the title race. And then on board with Will Thomas, takes his second victory of the night by 4.2. Well, it's going to be around, 4.2 seconds. Well, 4.3 basically, to Lord Pendlebury, who was apparently running out of fuel. Dan Slattery, he was a second back, with Jeff Sharp then in fourth. We'll obviously take a look at the full standings very soon indeed. Where is Steve Everson? There is Steve Everson. He emerges around the final turn to claim his second victory of the night. Both Will Thomas and Steve Everson have won both races for the last 2 weeks consecutively, both putting a lot of pressure on the competition in their respective categories. So let's pop ourselves over to a scenic camera and take a look at the results then. This time, starting off with the AM category, Steve Everson, Big Dick's halfway in. They are going to be getting a lot of visitors, as he is won again to the tune of... Whoa, hang on a minute. I have apparently missed something here, chaps, because Chris Palmer was... What was going on? Chris Palmer was comfortably in second place, but all of a sudden Axel Edwards is now in second place. I think Chris Palmer said he got a penalty on the night. Nothing on my event tracker, so I don't know what's gone on there. Either way, Axel Edwards claims second place. He was 35.8 seconds back, with Chris Palmer over a minute back in the end. Then Brian Dodd was in fourth place in the pro category then. Will Thomas takes yet another victory. Pendlebury 4.3 seconds back, with Dan Slattery then 5.3 seconds back, just a second behind Pendlebury. Jeff Sharp, a largely anonymous race for him. He ends up finishing in fourth place. Didn't do much practice in the dry, and it showed. He was useless. Sorry, Jeff, love you. I just couldn't resist going with that. Chris Hulse, he is then in fifth place. Steve Moore, he ended up a lap down, as did Jamie Nicholson. Jamie Nicholson obviously had that terrible luck on the first lap, and he started on wet tyres, so it was always going to be an uphill battle from that point. Right then, let's take a look at the point standings, and let's take a look at the Pro first. So, Jeff Sharp continues to lead the way. However, he's only 24 points ahead of Pendlebury. So that can still be a close one in the title with over 100 points left on the table to win. Equally, Will Thomas is only 25 points behind Pendlebury, and at the rate he is outscoring Sharp and Pendlebury, it could be a very close three-way battle when we get to the final 2 rounds of the season in just a couple of weeks' time. Jamie Nicholson, he's then in 4th place on 167 points, with Steve Moore just 8 points behind him on 159. Chris Hulse, he's then in 6th, not too far back on 143, with Dan Slattery breathing down his neck on 140 points. James Hurlow, unfortunately, got some rig issues going on at the moment, which means he can't race, so he remains on 105 points. Now taking a look at the AM points. Well, Steve Everson has extended his lead, and you have to say it's going to be tricky to overturn him at this point. It is still mathematically possible for Chris Palmer to overturn that, but you have to say it's going to have to require a fair old chunk of luck. Just call him Lando Norris. It's then Axel Edwards. He's in 3rd place. I tell you what, he could close the gap to Chris Palmer before the end of the season. We'll obviously see how that pans out. Mickey Dolan only raced, well, he didn't race at all this evening, still managed to pick up 10 points. He's on 198 points. Brian Dodd, he's then in 5th place on 154. We then got Travis Dorado on Jesus, that's apparently difficult to say. Travis Dorado on 83 points, with Paul Nicholson then on 68 points in 7th, and Josh Morris only raced on the dirt races so far this season, but he's still got a respectable 53 points off the back of those 3 races. Well, as I say at this point every time, if you would like to come and get involved with Evolution Sim Racing, evolutionsimracing.com. Next week we are going to be heading to Alton Park, and rumour has it it's going to be another wet one. This time we're going to be in the MX-5's open setup, so we look forward to seeing what goes on there. But for now, thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.